Hi, guys. It's Sven from Badass Counseling. So we created the Badass Counseling group on Facebook, and it grew to well over 45,000 members. And we kept getting asked by folks for a support group, a growth group that's more intimate, gives more access to me, Sven, if possible. So the Badass Counseling team got together, and they created Community Plus. For a monthly fee that isn't cheap, you get direct access to me 2 times a month where you can submit your questions directly. Monthly drawings for a small group counseling session with me. Monthly drawings for one-on-one counseling sessions with me. Priority Pass access to go to the front of the waiting list for ongoing counseling with me. Priority Pass access to be considered to be counseled by me on the Badass Counseling Show podcast. Direct access to my top 2 selling video courses, Healing the Soul and Unleashing Your Greatness. Interviews with people who've had success in their soul journey, some well-known and some everyday folks like you and me. And a fantastic opportunity to meet and get to know other men and women who take their healing and growth seriously and who do the work. And a social community feed where folks share their challenges, their struggles, and their triumph. And so much more. So go now to badasscounseling.com. Click on the Community Plus sign-up page for premium content and direct access to me and to like-minded people who are committed to healing, growth, and creating a community of support and happiness.
From the New York City area, welcome to the Badass Counseling Show, where the master badass himself, Sven Erlandson, takes you deep and gives balm for the soul, baby.
Yes, we're balming the living hell out of your soul today, and our own. It's a great day to be alive. The sun is shining. Whether you can see it or not, it is shining. I can guarantee you that, and it is great to have you here. This is a show going out today to everyone in the mountains. If you are in the mountains, the Adirondacks and the Catskills of gorgeous mountains of New York, or if you are in the Cascades of Washington, whether you are in the mountains of Tanzania, yes, we have actually had listeners in the mountains of Tanzania. And we've also, believe it or not, had writers or listeners listening and saying they downloaded episodes of our show while they were hiking through the mountains of Nepal and Tibet. So, which weirds me out. That is kind of weird, cool, more on the cool side. You could be listening to like those bowls and stuff that the Buddhists do up in the mountains of Nepal and like throat singing. You could be listening to that, but you chose to listen to me. I don't get that. You're up in Tibet. But if you are up there, it is great to have you here. Whatever mountains you are in or mountains you are climbing, we are so happy that you are tuned in with us, and we hope that we are bringing something to this mountainous experience. And whether you are climbing a mountain or just enjoying a mountaintop experience, maybe you are in love, maybe you have overcome something massive, or you are finding that your self-work is really accomplishing great things, and you are having, as my mother used to say, a mountaintop experience. Let's give thanks for the mountains in our lives, because it's often those mountains that we climb that lead to the greatest vistas. So today's the mountains. I am joined in studio by both of my colleagues. We have KC out of the booth today. We have both KC in the studio, and we have Rob the Rocket in the studio. Say hello, Rob and KC.
Hey, man. How you doing?
Good to see you, Rob.
All the gang's all here.
All here.
I'm excited. This is my excited look.
And sound.
Yeah.
And KC, good to have you out of the booth.
Sven, I'm stupefied with the double and triple entendres there. Mountains and vistas and...
Playing around, flying around. And how are you today, KC?
I'm doing just great. I got a little bit lost today coming here in the mountains and vistas.
All right. Good to have you here. That's all right. Well, we're so glad you made it. And Rob, I understand that we have a very interesting guest today. Can you tell us, please, about Maddie?
Sure enough, Sven, Maddie wrote in with the subject line, "Taking Down Walls." And the message was, "I'm having a hard time navigating adulthood after a childhood with 2 narcissistic and immature parents, emotional neglect, and constant criticism. I've been married twice, first to an older man with no motivation, and second, a verbally, physically, emotionally abusive alcoholic. Do I deserve any better than my past? Will a normal man ever love me in a healthy way? Were my parents right that I was worthless and unlovable?
Maddie, welcome to the show.
Hi, Sven. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Very gracious of you. To go through two hard marriages. And let me ask you, which for you was worse? I mean, you say that I know it's a crazy question, but you say the second one was verbally, physically, emotionally abusive. And the first one lacked any motivation. But in that first one, our first marriage, we go in with all the expectations and hopes. Which for you was the harder one?
Absolutely, my second marriage.
Because?
It's hard. I really loved him. I thought I loved him.
Sure.
I've learned a lot that I think it was more of a infatuation. He felt like my father. Is what I feel like it ended up being.
The second one. But the first one you said was to an older man. Wouldn't the older man feel more like a father?
No, he was kind. My first husband was kind. He was older than me. Looking back, I married him to get out of the house. I was 20 and he was 35.
Sure.
But he was kind. He was good to me.
Hey, kind is good. Kind is good. And I imagine after that second one, of the verbal, physical, and emotional neglect, kind, boy, once again, it's like, oh, wow, kind is nice. Kind is nice. Okay.
Kind is nice.
Kind is nice. So you go on to say that, do I deserve any better than my past? Will a normal man ever love me in a healthy way? Were my parents right that I was worthless and unlovable? Okay, so I read that sentence, will a normal man ever love me in a healthy way? And what sprung into my head was a word that I find myself dwelling on oftentimes with clients. And oftentimes the words that yield the most fruit in counseling are the words why, and also the words what, like what was going on inside of you. But more often than not, the most fruitful word is when. Okay, so in this case, will a normal man ever love me in a healthy way? And I know you're like, what the hell does when have to do with that? I want to ask you this question. When did, and you can take either one of those marriages, but let's take the second one because it's so glaring. The verbal, physical, and emotional abuse. When you thought you were in love, and that's fine. We've all been there, and it feels like love. That's great. Beautiful. Nothing wrong with that. When in the relationship did it start feeling unhealthy? When? Was it 1 week, 1 month? Was it the day after the wedding? Was it 3 years in? When did it start feeling unhealthy? Because you say, will a normal man ever love me in a healthy way? And I want to know when it started to feel unhealthy. Because I have to imagine on the first date, it felt pretty good. On the second date, it probably felt great. And you're like, this is great, this is great. There was probably a crescendo. And so when did it start to feel unhealthy looking backwards?
Within weeks.
Within weeks. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you, looking backward now, what did you notice? What were the sort of pings on the sonar, like in those submarine movies? Ping, ping. What were the pings on the sonar inside of you? What were you noticing?
I noticed that he was very quick to anger over things that really didn't warrant the emotion that he had. Very blaming towards me for just simple situations.
Okay. So you noticed it within weeks. Okay, fair. Now, just out of curiosity, how long was it from when you met to when you married?
It was about 15 months.
15 months. Not unreasonable. Sure, fair. Okay. He was quick to anger and he was blaming me. Now, I am in zero way blaming you for being physically, verbally, and emotionally abused. Zero. Okay. I am in no way blaming you. Mm-hmm. However, I want to ask this question. when he was quick to anger towards you or towards others, and you saw it, so the pings are showing up on your sonar, and he's blaming you for things that you really didn't do, why did you stay? I'm not saying you're to blame for his treatment. Just play with it. Just let's play around a little bit like a little boy or a little girl plays with a bug if they like bugs. Let's just play with this a little bit. Why did you stay?
I don't have a good answer for that.
I want you to take a swing at it knowing you can change your mind in 5 minutes or 5 hours or 5 months from now, but just play with it. What might it have been? You can change your mind. Swear to God, you can change your mind in 5 minutes if you want. If there was a fear operating, or what might it have been that kept you staying with someone? It shows up as a ping, and it wouldn't have been a ping unless it felt, and I'm going to use a kid word here because I just got done seeing my grandsons, but unless it felt kind of yucky. It felt yucky. A ping is something that doesn't feel good. So it didn't feel good, and you chose to stay, and I want to know why. Was it because he had a cute butt? He was a good kisser. I don't like being alone. Was it, gosh, he made me laugh? Was it, I don't have a lot of money. I want someone to take care of me. I mean, it can be anything under the sun. There's no wrong answer. What might it have been?
The only thing that I can think of is that we had a good intimate life.
And by intimate, you mean sex?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good
Yes.
sex. Fair. That is a totally fair answer. And just out of curiosity, when you met this particular fellow, how old were you?
Well, I actually knew him many years. He was my sister's brother's best friend. So I knew him. So my brother-in-law's best friend. I knew him from a distance. I didn't know him personally.
And so you had known him from a distance approximately how many years?
Probably 10
years. And you were how old yourself?
When we first met, or
when you started to date?
About 36.
36, fair. Okay. So you're 36, sex was good, but he's quick to anger and he's blaming you for shit. And so the reason you overlooked it because the sex was good. Okay. And so then if there were a fear driving the behavior, if there were a fear in you driving the behavior that caused you to overlook, which you obviously did, you overlooked the pings. Okay. Coming up like, this doesn't feel good. Like, ooh, I don't like this. Wait, and it's maybe causing you to cower in fear, right? Somebody's a hothead, right? Okay. And so might have been the fear? So the sex was good. You stayed because the sex was good. What might the fear have been in you? Was it fear of losing the sex? Fear of being alone? Fear, what?
I don't feel like I specifically feared anything.
But if there looking back, if there were a fear operating inside of you, looking backwards, what might I have been afraid of?
I would say being alone.
And what precisely is it about being alone? Is it, gee, I can't make it financially? Is it all those voices that rise up like you talked about in the next sentence when you said, were my parents right that I'm worthless and unlovable? So if I push someone away from me, if I break up with someone, see, I'm alone. See, I'm worthless, just like mom and dad said. And all those voices tumble around in my head. See, I'm a piece of shit. See, nobody loves me. See, I'm not pretty. See, I'm no good. And all those voices inside that sort of tear you up from the inside. Or is it I can't make it financially? Or is it, what is it about being alone that is so treacherous, so terrifying for you? It's different for everybody.
I believe that I feel less than when I don't have a partner. I have always been the breadwinner, so financially that was never a concern.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like people would look at me as less than.
Okay, less than. And I just want to open it up to my team and just ask either of my team at this moment if either of them has any thoughts. I just want either of them, and if not, it's okay, but I just want to let my team weigh in.
Oh no, she's describing my first, I'm going to call it a marriage, even though it was just we lived together, but exact same thing. I was young. and I ended up being with him for a very long time. I'm going to call what you're calling pings red flags.
Mm-hmm.
The red flags were there, and I mean giant red flags from the very beginning. But looking back, I realize now that I really felt that if I was alone or I wasn't with someone, that I was worthless, that I had no value.
And did that, in your case, Casey, did that cause you to stay in a relationship
It caused me
longer?
to stay in, it definitely caused me to stay in the relationship longer. But also this thing that I think we now refer to as scarcity. You know, I thought the things that were good about him, I thought I would never, ever find again. Great sex. He was kind and generous at times. Things like that. I thought I wouldn't find somebody that I was attracted to that had those qualities.
Rob.
I just want to say from personal experience, it's possible for a man to have the exact same feelings of staying for the sex, being afraid of being alone, and just appreciating the fact that someone is willing to be with you if you were made to feel unlovable.
And now, Maddie, KC mentioned scarcity and you're nodding your head. Tell me what's going on inside of you. That I'll never find someone like, when the good parts, I'll never find somebody like that again.
Right. What I was really nodding my head to was the fact that the good parts of him were so far and few between. But whenever he would do them, the nice things, and looking back at it now, grabbing me a cup of soup from the grocery store and bringing it home really wasn't such a kind, to me, it was huge. It was huge. I thought, oh my gosh, he thought of me. But those were just very simple things that he did that were so few compared to the bad moments.
It's interesting. I know nothing about psychology and I don't touch psychology. I stay out of it. But I remember one thing from my freshman college psychology class at the Air Force Academy. And one of those is the phrase, and I use it in training my dogs, infrequent positive reinforcement. I used it with athletes when I was an NCAA strength coach, that if you want to get the best out of your athletes, if you want to get the best out of dogs, they discovered it in training rats, that don't reward them every single time they do something good. Don't reward them, because then they know it's there. And if I want something, I'll get up off the couch and I'll go tap the lever and I'll get a rat snack, right? No, reward them the first, second, third time, then the fifth, then the 9th and 12th and 13th and 14th and 15th time, and then the 27th time, then the 31st and 33rd, 34th time, and then the 59th time. In other words, and that was it, right? Few and very far between, and it was a cup of soup. But what's fascinating about what you just said was, for you, a cup of soup from the grocery store was like manna from heaven. It was like, holy shit, that's something that simple, that small. And it is the small things in relationships that can feel so good, but something that small and that rare was so big. Now, that really requires us to say, well, then, how arid, how dry must your desert have been, that a cup of soup from the grocery store once in a rare long while felt like this lush, robust thing? In other words, how much must you have been conditioned to believe that you weren't worth even a cup of soup from the grocery store once every few months? That you were taught. And I see your brain thinking. I see maybe even your eyes, your eyes are watering up. What's going on inside of you right now, Maddie? Talk to me. What are you feeling? Give me a feeling word. Give me a feeling word. Feeling word.
It makes me feel extreme sadness.
Oh, and what are you sad about? Extremely sad about?
Because I never once, that I can ever remember, did my father ever act or say anything to make me think that I was worth anything, that I was anything more than a burden. I never remember anything until I accomplished things as an adult. And then all of a sudden, I was okay.
Mm.
Not ever, not an I love you, not a hug, nothing.
Wow. And what about your mom, just out of curiosity?
It's very hard for me because there had to have been good times, but I don't remember a lot of good times.
Wait a minute. Isn't that fascinating? What the brain just does right there. Isn't that fascinating? That you have a clear indictment of your father, clear, vivid indictment. Dad, nothing. Bone dry desert until adulthood. When I would accomplish, then I would get some praise. But then with mom, you don't have a clear indictment. Instead, it's there must have been something, which says there wasn't something, but there must have. And I want to know why your brain thinks there must have been something, because the way I look at it is, if there had been something from mom, it would have been like a cup of soup from the grocery store. You would have fucking remembered it because your childhood was this fucking desert. I remember that one time that mom, she brought me home Entenmann's from the end of the aisle, and it was so special. You would have fucking remembered that, and you didn't. But yet your brain goes to somehow some defense of mom, like there must have. Why does your brain think, boy, there must have, rather than a clear indictment of mom? Why do you want to believe there must have been something with mom?
I remember doing, occasionally going somewhere that I didn't have to earn. Usually I had to earn going to lunch. I had to, clean her room. It was always a task that had to be done that I would earn something fun. My sister and I, she was 5 years younger than me, so I was responsible for much more. But I remember doing things that I didn't have to earn, which makes me think that there were some good times.
But you remember doing things that you didn't have to earn, but were you riding on your sister's coattails in those cases, that you got them because your sister had done them? And so you got to ride along? Okay, it was something that...
No, my sister was never held to the same standards that I was by my parents.
But that's my point, that she got something, whether she had earned it or not. Your sister got something and you got to tag along?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, so if you were in general to define, I'm going to give you 4 categories. You define mom, then you define dad. But before, actually, hold on that thought. KC.
I just have a quick question. Who was imposing the fact that you had to earn whatever you were doing? Was it mom or dad that was making you feel that way?
Or both?
It was both, but in different ways. My mother, it was always tasks around the house. My father was making sure I got good grades, that I wasn't too chubby, it was completely separate things.
Okay. And I'm going to give you 4 templates for how to understand it, parents, and I want you to tell me which each of them was. There's the waterfall parent. When it comes to love, for showing love, there's a waterfall parent where it's just always on. Where like a waterfall, the love is always flowing. Even when you're being scolded, you still knew you were loved. You get scolded, you get sent to your room, or you get grounded for a week, but you still knew you were loved. The love was just always flowing. Then there's the vending machine parent. Like back in the 70s when I was a kid, you put in 35 cents, you pull the lever, you get your pack of Pall Malls, okay? But you got to put something in before you're going to get something out, okay? And then there's the slot machine parent, where you're pumping in quarters, pull the lever, pull the lever, nothing. Pumping in quarters, pull the lever, nothing. Pumping in quarters, pull the lever, nothing. And you're pumping in tons of quarters. You're pumping so much into the parent, and it's like you rarely, if ever, get anything out of it, but you're hoping, and every once in a while you get a little something out. But you're hoping for the big, jackpot. But there's no correlation between how much you put in and if you ever get something out. And then there's the wishing well parent, where you're just throwing fucking, quarters into a wishing well, hoping maybe, but it's a fantasy. You've never actually gotten anything, but you're just kind of fucking hoping that maybe one day you'll get something. And so which one of those categories did each of your parents fit into? And before I get your answer, we're going to take a short break.
My best friend made me listen to some podcast, said it had blown her away. So we listened to a lightning round of the Badass Counseling Show together. All I can say is, wow. First podcast I had ever listened to. Now it's my addiction. If you haven't done it yet, you need to subscribe to the Badass Counseling Show.
This show provides soul counseling intended to entertain and inform and is not medical advice. Now, back to the badass.
And we are back with Maddie. All right, Maddie, tell us, which type of parent was mom? Was she waterfall, vending machine, slot machine, or wishing well?
I feel like she was between the second and third one. I can't, because my memory just isn't great.
Do your best. I'm going to force you to pick one. Was she a vending machine or a slot machine? Was there a direct correlation between how much you pumped in and how much love you got out?
I would say a vending machine then.
Okay, so there was somewhat of a direct correlation. So mom was a vending machine. And then because you drew somewhat of a distinction with dad between childhood and adulthood, that I sort of got the impression earlier that you said, I didn't get any love in fucking childhood. I don't remember getting shit until adulthood when I started, getting fucking, accomplishing things. Then I got love. I'm going to go 0 to 18 with dad, and then 18 plus, over 18, after you became an adult, quote unquote, with dad. So 0 to 18, what type of love was dad?
Wishing well.
Wishing well. And 18, after age 18?
Maybe the slot machine.
Slot machine. All right. So then, basically, the definition of love that you received from your parents was you got to just keep fucking pumping in more and more and more in hopes of getting anything out, particularly when it comes to a man, that at best, you're going to get a little bit out. You're going to get a cup of soup.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
You make a statement. You actually make a question at the end of your write-up to us. You say, were my parents right that I was worthless and unlovable? Do you have children of your own? No children of your own?
I do. I have 6 children.
Oh, wow. God bless you. Are they all, forgive my old school language, but are they all of your own loins, or are they some adopted?
They're all mine.
Wow. Congratulations. That's fantastic. God bless you. And approximate age span from the oldest to the youngest?
32 to 16.
32 to 16. Okay. So then, which of your children, if you were to pick, I'll only make you pick 1 or 2, which of your children are worthless and unlovable?
None of them.
Well, no, but I mean, you said, were your parents right that I was worthless and unlovable? And so I'm just wondering, if you were worthless and unlovable, then that would mean, unless you were the only child in the entire history of humanity that was worthless and unlovable, which would be a mathematical almost impossibility, there would have to be others, which means mathematically you would have to have at least 1 or 2 of your own that were also worthless and unlovable. And so I'm just wondering, is it the 16-year-old? Is it the 23-year-old? That little squirt? Which one? I mean, you got to have one, at least one, that's really just so unlovable. Which one is it?
None of my children are unlovable. What they accomplish doesn't equal love.
I see. So then how do you explain that little Maddie that you were, that sweet, smart, creative, beautiful little girl? I mean, let's just imagine right now. Let's just imagine. Let's play Barney for a minute, and let's just imagine that little 7-year-old girl walks in right now, and you get to see her, and you're holding her sweet face in your hands, and you're looking at her, and you're just marveling. And you see her skin and you're like, oh my God, that beautiful skin, just the skin alone, right? And you're putting her hair behind her ears. And you're running your hands down her arms and holding her hands. And you're just looking at this beautiful marvel of a human being. And you're just looking at her like no one has ever looked at her, and no one ever could look at her like you could. Only one person on God's green earth could ever see this little 7-year-old girl the way you could. Because you know her, and you know how big the stone is on her back. And you swat it away because you can. Because you know it's all just this giant lie. You know how creative she is. You know, as the woman that you are now, this mother of beautiful children, you know how beautiful this child is. And you look her in those gorgeous eyes of hers, deep into her, and you say, you are so smart. You are so beautiful. You are so creative. Oh, child. And no one's ever going to hurt you again. And you hold her, and you rock her, and you feel her. See, the problem is that somebody taught that child a lie. The people that claimed to love that child, the people that that child loved, taught her a lie. And by you believing that lie, today, see, it's you then that's telling that girl that she's unlovable. It's you that's telling her she's worthless. But she's looking you in the face. You can smell her hair as you're holding her. You can feel her soft skin, and you know it's a lie. It was a lie the whole time. But when we're children, we believe Mom and Dad are good. Mom and Dad love me. Therefore, if I'm not getting that love, I must be the problem. I must be at fault. Something's wrong with me. And they were happy to let you think that. But as you hold this dear girl, and as you've held every single one of your own children, you know that couldn't possibly be true. That a child is innately unlovable? Do you really want to believe? You really want to go down that fucking path? Believe that shit? You know doggone well that little girl in your arms is not innately unlovable. But the child believes Mom and Dad are good, Mom and Dad are loving. Therefore, if I'm not getting the love, something must be wrong with me. So let me ask you, if a mother is delivering love to a child only when the child earns it, and maybe not even every time then, is that love? Yes or no?
No.
Is that good?
No.
If a father doesn't deliver love, no kindness, no softness, no warmth, is that good?
No.
Is that loving?
No.
Therefore, the original belief of the child, Mom and Dad are good, Mom and Dad are loving, is just bullshit. Is garbage. The child believed garbage because that's what children believe that. And they were happy to let you believe that all these years, right up until this moment. You've been believing they were good, they were loving, that I was the problem. And eventually, as the years roll on, it's easier to believe I'm the problem than to believe they were the problem. That's scarier. But there was nothing about how they raised you that was loving or good. And there are some people that say, well, they put a roof over my head and clothes on my back and food on the table. I got news for you. They would have put a roof over their head and food on the table if you had never been born. They would have fed themselves. They would have put a roof over their own head. That had nothing to do with you. And if they hadn't clothed you and put food on your table, CPS would have been called. All right, Child Protective Services would have been called. They didn't do that for you. They were not good. They were not loving. Therefore, the reason you were not getting love had nothing to do with your worth. but you were taught to believe it was about your worth. Is it possible that child was actually good and beautiful and smart and creative and cranky when she didn't get a nap and steal a little extra cookie if she could? Is it possible that there was everything good and glorious about that child? Is it possible?
Absolutely.
Is it possible that that child was just as good and glorious as your 16-year-old and your 25-year-old and your 32-year-old? Is it possible?
Again, yes.
Right. And yet you've been conditioned to believe when you are alone, when you don't have a man, and the man is the buffer. If somebody's here, that means I must be lovable. But you've been conditioned to believe if I don't have someone here as a counter message to that voice inside, if I don't have someone here, then all those voices, you've been conditioned to believe, see, I must suck. I must be worthless. No, that was a bullshit lie to begin with. You've been believing a lie. And here's the real kick in the ass, that now every time you choose to believe, were my parents right that I was worthless and unlovable? Now it's you telling that 7-year-old she's worthless and unlovable. Now it's you looking that sweet, beautiful little girl with that incredible skin and that such sweet smelling hair. Now it's you telling her. Now it's not mom. Now it's not dad. Now it's you telling her she is worthless and unlovable. And I have to ask, do you have the brass ovaries to look that little girl in the face and tell her that she is worthless and unlovable?
No, because she's not.
What is she?
She's perfect.
She's perfect.
She's perfect.
And has it occurred to you you've been perfect the whole time?
Deep down, yes, I know that.
Right.
I know,
but
I can't get past the feeling that I have to do something to deserve that.
Okay, first of all, we're going to just change that language a little bit from I can't to in the past I haven't been able to. Okay? Because can't implies it's permanent. In the past I haven't been able to. We're going to start there. This notion that deep down, I know it. I know that I'm good and I have worth. But what? Go ahead and say that over again. But somehow I think I have to do something in order to what?
I feel like I have to earn it. I have to have perfection. I have to be perfect. It's a
and the fear
internal,
there's an internal struggle, and the fear is that if I don't hustle and grind to earn it, then what?
I don't feel worth anything.
Okay. Are you alone right now, or are you in a relationship?
No, I'm alone. Well, my husband and I divorced, was separated 5 years ago and divorced 2. I have intermittently been back involved with him during that time, but it's been about 1.5 years now.
Okay. And what does it feel like to be alone, especially with those voices of worthlessness and unlovability?
I have come to enjoy it now. I have finally turned a corner where I enjoy the peace of it. But I'm terrified of making a poor decision again. So I really don't look for a relationship anywhere.
Terrified of making a poor decision. Okay. And this gets us back to the issue that I brought up at the very beginning of the question of when. The poor decision happened at the moment of the first and second ping. The poor decision wasn't to marry him. The poor decision was when you saw something and something happened, as Casey said, the red flag, as I call them, the pings, call them whatever you want, where it doesn't feel good and you allow it when it's small. Why? Because the sex was good. Why? Also, because you were afraid of being alone last time. But now, what did you just say about the alone? What was the word you said?
Peace.
Yeah. You enjoy it. That's right. Well, that becomes a superpower. See, so many women, and to Rob's point, so many men are terrified of being alone. But it's a superpower when you're no longer afraid of it. It's a superpower when you're no longer afraid, when you no longer have that scarcity mentality. Why? Because you're not clinging anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's like I can enjoy the aloneness. Rob has talked about it on the show at times, how this last year has changed him since his divorce, how he's settled in and settled down inside. Okay. And that being okay, being alone means what? I'm not afraid to let go in a relationship if it feels kind of crappy. That's how you know. When you just said terrified of making a big mistake, you are infinitely less likely to make a big mistake now. Do you want to know why? One, we already know your intuition works. It worked crystal clear for years, for decades. Your intuition is working fine. So that is huge. First of all, then you think, well, that's no big deal. No, it is a big deal. You want to know why? I have plenty of clients who are shut down. We get people on the show who are shut down, can't sense. Their sensors aren't working. They were shut down. They were taught to, hey, what you feel, what you sense doesn't matter. Just listen to what I say, the external power source, mom, dad, husband, wife, society, whatever, friends. But yours is working fine. So that's huge, number one. I ain't kidding. So now the second piece that you have is you are going to be innately less afraid to act on it. Why? Because you're not afraid of being alone. Mm-hmm. Even if the sex is good. And in a way, you getting your ass handed to you in that second marriage was a blessing. I know that sounds crazy, but pain is always the greatest blessing. Why? Because it's the biggest teacher. Why? Because I'll bet, I don't want to speak for you, but you can confirm or deny, you know now, even if the sex is good, I ain't going down that fucking path. If I'm getting those red flags or if I'm getting those pings on the sonar, even if the sex is great, I ain't going down that path again. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Far less likely to make that mistake. So the mistake is not when it's big. The real challenge, and this is why I tell people, victories are won and lost in the beginnings of relationships. When the stakes are small, the stakes are so big. Because it's so easy to say, it's no big deal. He'll get over it. I'm sure it'll fix it. We can fix it later. I'm sure it'll go away. I can take it.
I'll just try harder.
Good one. I'll just try harder. Mm-hmm. That's it. Bingo. That's it. So let me ask you, in the beginning, if you were to just sort of look forward a bit, where you're less terrified, and it's like, well, maybe Sven had a point. Maybe I can date. All right. And if you were to go on a date or a few dates and something comes up, maybe somebody just shows up an hour late for a date and doesn't really have a reason. Or let's say somebody does something that hurts your feelings and doesn't apologize. How are you, or somebody has a little, hissy fit of anger. How are you more likely to respond now?
Thank you. No, thank you.
Right.
Not interested.
Right. And if you wanted, and it's totally optional, if you wanted, you could even call it out once and say, hey, that didn't feel good. Because that's you, when the stakes are very small, that's you getting used to confrontation, because it's small. It's the beginning of a relationship. Nobody's going to, go hog shit wild over a small thing, right? So it's getting used to the confrontations, because you're going to have, even in a terrific relationship, you're going to have confrontations, okay? Mm-hmm. But calling it out when it's small and saying, hey, I need you to apologize for that. That hurt my feelings. And then seeing how they respond. And then if they don't apologize, then saying, thanks for the memories. It's been great. Got to go. Or just saying, no, you made a mistake. But that sort of sets a very short leash that you can't make any mistakes at all. No pings allowed, versus giving them a chance to correct, right? Because if they got to be perfect, that means you got to be perfect as well, and you can't hurt their feelings ever as well. That sets up a very, very tenuous relationship. It's like we both got to walk this tight wire,
Right.
But what you may consider, you don't have to, but what you may consider is saying, hey, having that sort of mini uncomfortable conversation and saying, hey, you're late an hour. And I got to be honest, that's very disrespectful. Now, that might be, let me ask you, what would it be like to have a mini uncomfortable conversation or the mini confrontational conversation of, hey, I need you to apologize for that. That didn't feel good. What would that feel like for you? Too uncomfortable?
No, that wouldn't be uncomfortable for me. I know that's that happened in my marriage where I said within weeks it went bad. In the beginning of our relationship, that's exactly what happened. Something happened. I said something and he blew up. And so that was when I should have walked away then.
Okay. So now we know two things work just fine inside of you. One, your intuition works fine. Two, your willingness to have the initial confrontation, the initial calling out works just fine. That's great. So, I mean, your system is operating very, very well and has been for many, many years. Now we just got to implement that third one. And that is if they do the super blow up thing, where in the past you'd be like, cower, I got to work harder. I got to keep this person because I'm afraid of being alone. Now it's just like, ciao, baby, And because what you are doing by doing that, you're setting the bar higher for yourself. So that when you say, do I deserve any better than my past? By you saying, ciao, ragazza or ragazzo, what you're saying is, I do deserve better than my past. I do deserve better than this kind of treatment, and I'm not tolerating it. So now you're starting a weeding out process.
Right.
And it's you fundamentally shouting to the universe through your actions of weeding out the chaff. It's you shouting to the universe, I matter. Thoughts, feelings, questions?
That's 100%. That's 100%. I do matter. And I don't need to walk on eggshells anymore to be with someone. And my peace is well deserved now.
Yeah. And the thing that you're going to discover, Maddie, it's just like going to the gym. It's just like, it's just like raising a child. Once you begin to teach your kid, let's just say something basic like clearing their dishes from the table. Okay. The first time when they're 1, 2, 3, you teach them to, okay, take your plate and your silverware and your cup and take it over to the sink, please, and put it in the sink. And the first time they may drop it, or they may, forget their spoon. Come on back, get your spoon, sweetheart. And it requires a lot of coaching the first few times. But eventually, as long as you keep doing it yourself, so in other words, as long as you keep standing up for yourself when it's small, you're patternizing a behavior, you're getting the repetitions, and eventually it just becomes second nature. And it's going to be easier to stand up for yourself when it's medium. And then you're going to get the mediums. And that's like your kid not just clearing their own place. And it's just second nature. Now you don't even have to remind the 3-year-old to clear their place. Now you can say, Tommy, I have to take your sister to school. I have to run her to school. I need you to clear all the places, please. Put them all in the dishwasher. And Tommy's like, okay, Mom. Okay, so that's a medium task. All right, so you're getting the reps. And the more you get these reps of standing up for yourself, the more you get these reps of these confrontations and walking away when it doesn't feel right, the more you get these reps of saying to the universe through your actions, I matter, the easier it's going to become. You're just getting the reps because every single one of them, the underlying message you are sending to life is, I matter. I want to open it up to the team here. Rob or Casey, thoughts or questions?
I have a question. I'm just wondering what % she loves herself and why does she love herself? What are the qualities about her that she has learned to love in spite of what her parents tried to put in her?
Wow.
Why'd you have to do that?
Come on now, man. But Go ahead.
I'm asking the question because I am 62 years old and I have only started really loving myself in the last maybe 7 years. And I started loving myself by really realizing what my strengths were. Some of the things that I hated most about myself, because things were said to me as a child, like you're too soft or you're too sensitive. Things like that, I realized were my superpower. I am soft. I am sensitive, but I can also stand up for myself and I can fight back and I can be tough. And so I think it's really important to analyze how much you love yourself and why you love yourself. What are the qualities that make you wonderful?
And so before you answer that, Maddie, I want you to not automatically do your default bullshit of all the external bullshit. I want you to just close your eyes. There's nothing to see. It's just me. You're just looking at me. I want you to just close your eyes and feel your own self and feel your center and answer Casey's question of what % do you love yourself and what do you love the most about yourself? I want you to answer that from your center, from that place inside of you that recognizes how lovable and wonderful and that little girl inside that you truly are.
I would say that I've grown a lot, and I think I would call I love myself about 70%. And I was made fun of by my parents as a child for being too sensitive. And I think that is one of my biggest advantages now. I see my empathy as a strength and not a weakness anymore.
Huh. How about that?
Mm-hmm. I completely understand why, my profession, I became a nurse, and it all makes sense now. I am very sensitive, but I own it.
Hell yeah!
That is so beautiful.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Exactly. And a mother of 6 kids, empathy, sensitivity. Study was done recently. I don't know who did it. Forgive me. But they said the biggest thing that children need to grow up in is warmth. And to be a nurse, my sibling and his wife are nurses. You're not Nurse Ratchet. You have empathy, and it comes through in your work. And you're a glorious being. I have clients who say they love themselves 5%. No lie. 70%. Dude, you're doing great. You are in such a great position. You are on the wonderful road, and the vestiges, the encumbrances, that the crap from your childhood is falling away faster than you may realize, kiddo. You're doing
I'll tell you, your book helped me tremendously. That was the first book I went through, and those exercises really opened my eyes to why I was the way I was and why I did the things I did. And it just was huge for me to come to an understanding of how my childhood was playing into my adulthood.
Glorious. I love hearing that. And you might be surprised that going back to the book now and rereading it, especially after this conversation, it might open up new stuff because you're going to read it differently. Casey?
I just think it's so interesting that we did not know that she read the book coming into this session. We had no idea that she read the book. And you've just been saying over and over again how ready she is, how, she's on the right track. She's healing. She's ready for the next relationship. Yeah. And that's funny to me because you don't often say that. No. And now we're hearing that she read the book, she did the work, and she's a success story. This is exactly the kind of thing that we hear over and over again in the testimonials. Yeah. People that are willing to go into their shit, do the exercises, read the book, sometimes multiple times, see these types of results. And I am just so happy for you. And you are so on the right track.
Yeah, you are, Maddie. And any relationship you have in the future is going to be completely different from any you've ever had in the past. And now just start changing that language from I can't and gee, what my mom and dad said, that shit is falling away from you faster than you realize. And you are much farther along than you realize. I'm very, very proud of you. You're doing great.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Rob, KC, guys, great show.
Sven's point about repetition is so critical. I mean, you have to keep repeating the positive thoughts and the positive behaviors. I myself now am motivated to go get a cup of soup for my girlfriend, not because she appreciates me for what I do, because she appreciates me for who I am. So I feel good about doing it.
But the real question, Rob, is...
I'd rather actually cook it myself, but, that's going too far.
And Rob's a hell of a cook. That's not too far. He's always cooking for her. If you were going to the store and getting your girlfriend a cup of soup, what kind of soup would you be getting her that she would like? See, you may have never asked her, so now you have to guess what kind of soup would your girlfriend like, knowing that she's going to hear this episode of the show.
I happen to know it's chicken noodle.
Ah, there it is. Jewish penicillin.
Exactly.
Aha, very good, very good. Well, folks, on behalf of my team, KC, who was out of the booth and always just nails it, and Rob, hitting the points again, as always, to all of you up in the mountains or conquering mountains or looking at the beautiful views from mountains, as is Maddie. We thank Maddie, and to all of you around the world, thanks for tuning into the Badass Counseling Show. Have a kick-ass day. Slay those demons.
The Badass Counseling Show is strictly copyrighted. No copies may be made without the express written consent of the Badass Counseling Show, LLC. The Badass Counseling Show is produced by Karen Camparelli and Robert H. Friedman. Executive producer Sven Erlandson. Original music by two-time Emmy Award-winning composer Trevor Morris. Have a kick-ass day.